Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Viburnum, tinus, Spring Bouquet. Spring Bouquet Viburnum has always been one of my favorite evergreen shrubs. It's a little bit touchy here in Zone 7, and I'll talk more about that later in the video. This is a great evergreen shrub that has really beautiful dark green foliage on the older growth and lighter green foliage on the new growth. So it has kind of a two-tone contrast to it when it's growing. This will reach 4 to 5 feet in height, maybe 3 to 4 feet in width, so slightly more upright. And you can see that in the 3 that are growing here that we planted on this landscape job a few months back. You can see it's definitely trying to go more vertical than wide. Spring Bouquet Viburnum is one of those evergreen shrubs that really doesn't need to flower to be an impressive ornamental plant, but it does flower. In the fall, it'll set buds. We're in right at the 1st of December now when we're filming this, and you can see the flower buds formed on them. They'll carry these through the winter. As the soil temperature warms up on the other side of winter, they'll start to open up. They're lightly fragrant with like a little bit of a honey scent to them. So, very lightly fragrant. Those flowers eventually become a metallic blue berry that the birds enjoy as well. So this is a multi-season shrub. So you're carrying these pink buds on them that open to kind of a pinkish flower that fades to white. You get the metallic berries for the birds and that two-tone evergreen leaf. Spring Bouquet Viburnum is hardy in zone 7 to 9, possibly down into 10. In zone 7, it definitely needs to go in a protected space. The spot that these 3 are planted in is a low area up against a wall, and they're out of the wind, and that's very important in zone 7. These buds are very, very vulnerable to freezing during the winter time. So I've seen Spring Bouquet Viburnum just kind of never bloom here in zone 7 because they're getting damaged every winter. They're exposing their flower parts, and they get damaged before they flower in the spring. So in zone 7 in a protected spot, in zone 8, 9, and 10, definitely out. And the more sun, the more compact. So if you can find a sunny spot where there's not a lot of wind on it, that's kind of the perfect spot for this. So where are you going to use an evergreen shrub that'll reach 4 to 5 feet and 3 to 4 feet in width? This is the kind of spot. This little window above my head is right at 6 feet in height. These are going to end up right about here. So this is a great foundation plant if you have slightly higher windows, or maybe you have lower windows and this goes in between them. Perfect on the corner of a foundation. Great low formal hedging plant. So as a boxwood alternative, if you needed something that was formal like a boxwood but would get in that 4 to 5 foot range, that's how this is going to grow. A very, very formal shape to it without having to do a lot of pruning on it. So that's also a great use for it. Probably not a great container choice if the pot's going to freeze solid. This is a plant that I really had to winter protect quite a bit in the nursery to get those flower buds through the winter. And, the roots don't like to be frozen either. Spring Bouquet Viburnum is going to be tolerant of a lot of different soil types. Sand, clay, like slightly acidic soil, and moist, well-drained conditions. So I wouldn't put it in a spot where it's going to hold water constantly, but I wouldn't put it in the driest place in your garden either. I consider these pretty drought tolerant once they're established, but that first 6 months to a year, maybe 18 months is a plant you want to keep an eye on. Once it's rooted in, it's not one of those here in the southeast where we get some regular rainfall that I'm really going to worry about all that much. Obviously, if you're in an area that has seasonal rainfall, meaning you go 3-4 months without it, this is a plant you're probably going to have to water during that period of time. These can be fertilized in the late winter with some sort of slow-release fertilizer. Organic fertilizer is what I use. I wouldn't push them any other time of the year. So sometime about the time they're in peak flower there in the late winter, or as the flowers are fading, that's about the time I would fertilize them. They don't really need any pruning. I mean, this thing's growing very, very full on its own. But if you did prune them, you could prune them after they flower. In the spring would probably be the ideal time. Keep in mind you'd be removing any of the berries that you were going to get or fruit that you were going to get later in the season. These are considered very disease, insect resistant, deer resistant, rabbit resistant, all those kinds of things that you'd want in an ornamental plant in your landscape. So just a really kind of perfect formal looking 4 to 5 foot round ball that, as long as it's in kind of moist, well-drained conditions, you can kind of plant it and forget about it other than getting it established, watering it in. So thank you guys for watching. This is Viburnum tinus Spring Bouquet.